We talk about a historically close race. Oftentimes we talk about the national polling, but I wanted to try and dig into the state numbers to get an understanding of how close this race is. Holy cow, from a historical perspective. So what I did for all of the years going back since 1972 was I took a look at the final polls, and then I basically calculated out what the electoral map would look like and how high up would the leading candidate's electoral vote total get. And what we essentially see is right now the leader's electoral vote total is 276 electoral votes based upon the polls. If you go back since 72 and try and find the closest years, if you go back to 2000, which of course was a historically close election, at the end of the campaign, the poll leader's electoral vote total was just 281 electoral votes. That's where Gore was in the final polls of that campaign. You go back to 2004, George W. Bush was at 296 electoral votes. So based upon the polls at this point, we are heading into the election with the closest polls in the Electoral College that we have ever seen, at least over the last 50 years. It's stuff like this that gets me up in the morning and gets me truly excited as a political sort of scientist.
This is a really interesting way to look at it. I never would have thought of this, but basically what the polls are showing right now, the polls.
Correct.
The closest race in terms of the electoral vote that we've ever seen.
Exactly
That's
right.
fascinating. All right, how about in the key states?
Yeah, how about in the key states? You know, it's not just when you tally up the electoral votes. Harris likely must carry 3 of these 4 states to win, and these are the states most likely to determine the Electoral College. Look at this. North Carolina, less than a point lead for Trump. Wisconsin, less than a point lead for Harris. Michigan, the exact same thing. Pennsylvania, the exact same thing. Basically, the 4 states that are most likely to determine this outcome are all within a point. And when we span this out to the Electoral College, what do we get? We get exactly this. Harris with that 276 electoral votes because she carries these Great Lake battleground states, right? But let's just say we flip Pennsylvania and the polls don't match the result exactly right. What happens? We flip Pennsylvania to red, and then we get Trump to 281 electoral votes, which is not really much of a long shot, given that at this particular point, the race in Pennsylvania is within a single point.
All right, you just showed those 4 states all within 1 point. David Plouffe, who's working for the Harris campaign, says all 7 swing states are within 1 point. Have we ever seen so many crucial states so close?
No, I went back since 1972. Have the final Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin polls ever been so tight? No. No, they have not. We have never had a year where any one of these states was within 1 point. And this year, John, all 3 of them are within 1 point. It's a historically close campaign, whether you look at the national polls or at the state polls, like we just did. And I think we just got knighted.
So you're
Hello, everyone. Welcome back, one and all, to the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. We're going to get to the poly market screens. We're going to get to the RCP averages, and I'm going to show you where they're at now with nothing in terms of, all the states accounted for. I'll give you my final electoral vote tally. We're going to do all of that, folks, but I want to give you a sense of my analysis of why you're seeing people like Harry Enton and all these other pundits on TV, and the narrative is to keep it as close as possible for a variety of reasons. It helps viewership. It helps drive speculation. It covers their ass in case any of them win, because then they can say, see, we told you it was razor close. It was within 1 point in all these states, and all it took was this or that or whatever. So on the day of the election, when the winner is determined, no matter who it is, they can basically claim to say that they were correct because it was close. I don't believe that for a second. My analysis is completely different. Those of you that have been watching the show know that my analysis has been that in 2016, they were shoving it down our throats, telling us that Hillary Clinton had it in the bag. She was up by so much, it was over. And they had her on various days, various weeks in the polls, up by 7, up by 8, sometimes even double digits. In fact, you saw Rachel Maddow and those clowns at MSDNC, MSLSD, even think he was going to be an electoral landslide, 400 and above, is what some of them were being giddy about, having orgasms about. And then what happened? We all know what happened. And then in 220, they tried the same dumpster fire, gaslighting. Biden's ahead. Remember the Wisconsin poll up by 17? Iowa up by 10? All of the places around the country, Biden's up again by high single digits. sometimes double digits. That was a narrative. Biden's ahead. Orange man bad. It's over. And literally 40,000 votes later, because of we know what happened, Biden slides in. And so what's the narrative this year? In 2024? It's close. It's within a point, within half a point. Look at the polls. The polls, most of them are bullshit. Take a look at the top 4 or 5 polls that are out there that have had the strongest track record in the last decade. You're looking at what? Trafalgar, Atlas Intel, which is a polling company that's not even in America. They do polls for all over the world, all different types of races. They have no skin in the game. They were the closest poll in 2020, 2022. Nobody looks at them. Richard Barris, the People's Pundit. All independents, Rasmussen. But the reason they don't look at those polls, folks, is, they're right-wing leaning pollsters. They're fascist pollsters. We're not going to look at them. But no, we're going to take a look at 538. We're going to look at the New York Times. And take a look at the very bottom corner here, folks, if you can see it or not, but at the very bottom underneath those numbers, it says source 538, New York Times, and Enton's aggregate. That's what we're getting. These folks are cherry picking the stuff that he wants to make the numbers as close as possible so Harry Enton can CYA cover his ass. And then he can point to and say, I was telling you guys, I didn't make a prediction, but I was telling you it was close. That would be my league me saying, hey guys, guess what? I'm going to flip this penny. And I bet you that it'll probably land on heads and it might land on tails. That's my analysis for you. And that's pretty damn good. I'm pretty good at my analysis, right? On flipping a penny. I mean, that's what these guys think. We're that freaking stupid. Now, is there some probability in the world that could turn this thing completely topsy? If you take a look right now, what's happening, folks, I'm going to share with you so much information. I'm going to give you stuff that's happening, latest stuff coming in from the polls, early voting, mail-in ballots. It's a bloodbath, political bloodbath for the Democrats out there, folks. You take a look at stories that are coming out of the Kamala campaign, out of Michigan with Arab American voters, with Muslim voters, union voters, male black voters, white males, Latinos, Hispanics, Asians, every demographic. They are scurrying away, leaving the plantations of the Democratic stronghold. It's really, I mean, if the only thing they're counting on is that we are just overrun with Democrats on the polling day, and women come out in single white women and single black women come out in unbelievable numbers and vote on one topic, abortion, the KILLING of babies, the MURDER of babies. That's the only saving, I guess, the saving proposition that the Democrats are relying upon. Because they're saying that's what happened in 2022. That's what they're banking on. All right? So the first thing I want to do right now is let's just go real quick to the poly market and show you where we stand on the poly market today, the 22nd of October. Folks, he's up by 32 points. So as you can see here, folks, Donald Trump on the 22nd, folks, of October, he is up 60, let's just round up, 64 to 36. I know the numbers are hard to see, but you can go to Polymarket, take a look at it yourself. That's what he's up right now, folks. And at one time, I think his highest, back before Biden dropped out, he was up to 72. So the question is he going to be able to make a new all-time high and punch through that resistance of 72? It's like watching the stock market, isn't it, on your favorite stock? getting enough volume, right? Getting enough votes, getting enough pressure to punch through. That's what we're looking for, folks. Have this and continue. The trend is going in Donald Trump's direction. There is no doubt about it. Now let's take a look at the Real Clear polling maps. And these are the maps now, folks, where there was a difference before. There was a not discrepancy. They were putting in battleground states, and the battleground states didn't have a clear winner because they still had them obviously as battleground states. But then when you take the battleground states out of that and you make a new map, they were showing that Trump had gone to 302, and now they flipped Wisconsin, so now he's 312. But guess what? Now that the Real Clear polling averages have all shifted in Donald Trump's favor, both those maps are the same. So we're going to go to those right now and explain what that's all about. And here's what we have, folks. 312 to 226. As you can see, Wisconsin, Michigan, and PA have all come in the Real Clear polling averages. They are now in Donald Trump's favor, as is Nevada. And this is exactly what I was talking about months ago. And Real Clear politics now has come up slowly and slowly. They were at 252. Then they went to 268. Then they went to 272 and crossed the threshold. Then they went to 296. Then went to 302. And now they're at 312. And I'm going to show you what I've been saying for many, many months, where not only I think he's going to flip New Mexico, he's going to flip Minnesota. We're going to win New Mexico probably by 1 to 2. Same thing in Minnesota, 1 to 2 points. I think Wisconsin, we're going to win by more than 5, but 3 to 5 is certainly doable. Michigan is going to be between 1 to 3. Pennsylvania, 3 to 5. Would I be surprised if he goes above 5? Absolutely not. Virginia, I think we're going to capture Virginia. It's going to be close. 1 to 2 points in Virginia. In New Hampshire, he's got a shot in New Hampshire, folks. I think he's going to flip New Hampshire. Same thing, 1 to 4 points. So this, folks, is how my map looks. Let's take a look at that with the 345 as I've already described. Take a look at this. So here we are, 345 to 193. And as I told you, Nevada is flipping. I believe New Mexico is going to flip. Minnesota is going to flip. Wisconsin will flip. Michigan will flip. PA will flip. New Hampshire is going to flip. Virginia is going to flip. Nebraska, too, is going to flip. Obviously, North Carolina is going to stay in the column. And Georgia is going to flip. That's already in the column as it is. So I've been talking about this for a very long time, folks. I've been looking at the data from so many other people that are out there. There's a lot of good aggregators that are out there, but they're not being taken seriously because the legacy media doesn't look at them. And some of them are brand new, but some of them have been there for some time, like Rasmussen, Atlas Intel, The People's Pundit, Richard Barris. There's some new ones out there, Gold Crown Politics. Red Eagle Politics has been there for some time. On Point Politics is a new one, that's out there. Lester and his company. I'm probably forgetting some others out there or whatever. Seth Keshel is out there. Then you've got Eric, I'm forgetting his name, but the one from Florida, that's in the news. He's reporting all the stuff coming out of Florida. The news that's coming out of the early voting, folks, is unbelievably strong for Republicans. They are dominating in areas where Democrats dominated, in mail-in ballots and mail-in ballot turn-ins. Early day voting numbers in New Mexico and Nevada are being absolutely shattered by Republican turnout in the rural communities. They're talking it's a political, bloodbath for the Democrats. They're not. Black turnout is decreased in Georgia and in North Carolina and in areas of Philadelphia and other areas of Pennsylvania. Now, I just want to basically share with you some of the stuff that's coming out there from the mainstream press that is now being picked upon by some of the people in the legacy media and the other stuff that's happening in the last 8 to 12 hours today on the 22nd of October. Let's go to some of the stuff in terms of what's happening with Muslim voters and Arab American voters in Detroit, Dearborn, Hamtramck, surrounding areas, the entire state of Michigan, also Pennsylvania, and in Georgia. Folks, take a look at this article. So folks, take a look at this title. Tell me that I'm wrong about what's going to happen in Michigan. Dearborn Islamic leader, Trump is closer to the Bible, Torah, Quran than Kamala. I've been saying this, and I just, instead of Kamala, I say that about the Democrats. That the Republicans, conservatives, are closer to the Bible, the Torah, the Quran than, now put in Kamala, put in Democrats, put in progressives, put in leftists, put in socialists, put in Marxists, agnostics, atheists. That is so true about Donald Trump. Look at what this Islamic leader talks about. Imam Hashem al-Husseini of the Karbala Islamic Center in Dearborn shared his perspective during a Michigan Republican Party press call, along with other Arab leaders, including the Hamtramck Mayor Amir Ghalib, who did endorse Donald Trump, and Dearborn Heights Mayor Bill Bazzi. So the reason he says he leans towards Trump, because he says, just like he said, he found him closer to the Bible and the Torah and the Quran, because al-Husseini says, I support peace and no war. We should stop the war, whether in Europe or in the Middle East. Believes in justice evenly between all the children of Abraham. He goes on to say he believes in morality, which is the holy logic in the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran. And God supports normality and respect, appreciates a marriage between male and female. There's that jab at the transgender community, folks, and the LGBTQIA MOUSE. So this is why he says he believes that we need a special president, a special leader. Al-Husseini, he's been here for 50 years, folks. He originally hails from Iraq. He says he's not a Democrat, not a Republican. He's just a simple clergyman who advocates for religious morality. His desire is to end the war in the Middle East, a desire for a strong leader, that factors into his backing Trump. He says, I've been here 50 years. I owe America a lot. He says, I'm not a politician. I'm a clergyman. In fact, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. But I support morality. I support peace. Because I have 5 children, all American born. I have 10 grandchildren. He says, I feel I owe the society a lot. That's why I jumped in and got involved in this campaign. You know, there are many Muslim Americans who don't get involved in the process. Some are being told wrongly that you're not supposed to vote as a Muslim in a non-Muslim country. That's a bunch of BS. Those people that say that, and if they're Muslims, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And if they're not Muslims, they especially don't know what they're talking about. There's nothing that prohibits Muslims or anybody else in the faith to vote or not to vote. You do it just like any other normal American. As long as you're legal, you're a citizen. It doesn't matter who you are, you're allowed to vote. So he goes on to say, we need a strong leader. And he goes on to reiterate, that's why he got involved. Because he believes that Trump is closer to the Bible and the Torah and the Quran. The Torah, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure you probably do, is, the Old Testament that was given to the Jews. Just so if there's anybody out there that doesn't know what we're talking about, what the Torah is, that's what that is. Al-Husseini goes on to say, America is the strongest country in the world. It deserves to have a strong leader where he can bring peace to the world. And remember, no wars under Trump. So Breitbart News, they asked if Muslim and Arab American voters in Wayne County could be an influential voting bloc in the country during this election with their power to swing Michigan. They talked about the uncommitted movement, which protested, had more than 100,000 uncommitted votes. Gallup told the Breitbart News that he expects a realignment to impact not only this election, but future ones. And he emphasized that finally Muslim communities in Wayne County are starting to see they have much more in common with the Republican Party on an ethical and moral level than the Democratic Party. I have been saying this and shouting this from the top of the rooftops, folks. And here it is right here he's talking about. We align more on social issues and morals, family structure, and faith with Republicans, not with Democrats. Not with Democrats, as I've been saying. He talks about Mayor Gallup that in 2020, when someone left the polling location, was talking that he voted for Trump, and everybody was looking at him like they wanted to beat him up because nobody here used to vote for Republican. It would be a secret. You wouldn't announce it. Now he's saying, that's the talk in the communities, out in the open, willing to say, yes, I'm going to vote for Trump. I've been saying that in my community for a long time. I didn't give a damn what other people thought, but I'll tell you what. In our community here, I can tell you that within the American Muslim community now, there has been literally a 180-degree shift from Biden and Clinton, those who voted for those two in those elections, to now coming and saying, you know, Nasser, you were so right. We were so wrong. We had no idea. And that shift, I'd say it's 80 to 90% going towards either a third-party candidate or going towards Trump. And I just want to point out some other articles for you guys as well to take a look at and just see what is happening with the Kamala campaign and the implosion that is occurring nearly 2.5 weeks out from the election. Check out some of these other articles, folks. And so, folks, if you don't think that some of these stories are going to have negative or positive impacts for either Donald Trump or Kamala Harris going to final stretch, you have no idea how the political winds shift and how they carry, people onto victory or on into, the losses and the defeats. Here's one right here, TDA. Those bastards, those terrorists, a 59-year-old person is murdered. This is going to hang around the necks of Kamala Harris and Tim AWOL Walls. Look at this over here. I know it's hard to see, but Joe Rogan, the Trump lock-in. That interview is going to be absolutely epic, folks. Joe Rogan. I think it's just going to be one of the final nails in the political coffin of Kamala Harris. Absolutely. I mean, that's going to be huge. You know how many people are going to be tuned into that? I think that's going to be over 100 million, if not more. Wait till everybody finds out. Biden-Harris sends another $400 million to Ukraine for immediate needs. But where's the $400 million for immediate needs for the victims of the hurricanes in Tennessee, Georgia, North Carolina? Where's their immediate needs? Not there, right? Help everybody else. Don't help your own. And as they talked about here is an article. Catch and release border policy. Another American citizen's life has been ended with the blood on the hands of Kamala Harris. I'm just going to go down through some of these things here in terms of what's going on. Take a look at this. Mark Halperin. If the early vote trend continues, Trump is going to win. Oh, look at this, folks. Here, shock poll. Trump leads Harris with Arab Americans. We already told you. That poll, he's leading by 4 points. 46 to 42 of likely voters are supporting Trump over Harris. Here's an article. Harris's hometown paper refuses to endorse her. Remember Al Gore? He couldn't win his even home state of Tennessee. See, what else are they talking about? Oh, Trump talking about the support that he's received from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Oh, we've talked about this before. Nobody's reporting this story because plagiarism's okay if you're on the left. If you're on the right, oh my God, you're going to get shredded for it. But Kamala Harris plagiarizes testimony to Congress, plagiarizes whole, number of passages for a book or something that she wrote. Nobody even cares about it or whatever. More and more tech billionaires are joining Musk in breaking with Silicon Valley to now support Trump. Georgia poll, Trump leads Harris in final AJC survey. Panicked. Harris staffers leak concerns about losing key state. You seeing this kind of stuff coming out of the Trump campaign? No way. No way are you hearing about that. See what else is out there. Oh, this was something. Remember this? You go there? The Harris-Cheney, it was a predetermined questions at town hall. Did you ever see Donald Trump do anything that got questions beforehand or pre-questioned? It was all scripted all day for both Liz Cheney and Kamala Harris. I mean, this is just absolutely... Here's Donald Trump. Visits the areas that were impacted by the hurricane, promising to do whatever he can to help the people there. Where are Harris and AWOL walls? They're AWOL. That's where they're at. I mean, there's so much stuff out there, folks, so many things we can go into, but those are the reasons why I'm saying that it's going to be an electoral landslide. You take a look at what's happening coming out of Rasmussen, Atlas, Intel, the People's Pundit, On Point Politics, Red Eagle Politics, Gold Crown Politics, Seth Keschel, Eric Leiter, all these guys that are out there talking about what's happening. The poll that came out from Gallup, which has never been wrong so far, correlates that when your party identification number, which now is +2 to +4, that correlates with in terms of where you're going to see in terms of the popular vote. And that's where Trump's at in terms of that's where the America is at right now. They're +2, +3, +4, depending where you take, let's say +3 in party identification over the last 5 to 6 months with Gallup. They've never been wrong about this. Party ID correlates to popular vote. I really believe that he has a chance at getting the popular. I think he's up 5 right now nationally. When you take a look at his underperformance before, in most of these other great scientific polls that were taken out there, he's +2 to +3. He's been underestimated between 4 to 8 points in different polls in terms of his strength in numbers. So I'm just taking not even 4 to 8, just take half of the 4 and give him 2. That gives him, in my estimation, a +5 shift. He hasn't been he wasn't this good in 2016. He certainly wasn't at this level in 2020. Something is happening, folks. And that's why I put myself out there. I know, I believe truly in my heart, he's certainly going to win the 270 and be president. The question is, can he flip those other 4 or 5 states and make it a true electoral landslide? Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasser Sheikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasser. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow. You all know what to do. Take a look at our video links above and below. Share, comment, tell me. Do you think I'm absolutely nutso in your mind, or do you agree with my analysis? I'd love to hear your thoughts. My final thought, though, is when you're right, you're right, and when you're left, you're wrong. So until next time, folks, take care, and y'all stay safe.